in branding and doing marketing strategies. And then I also kind of have set up events in the office. I try to expand our reach outside of Italy because we're trying to find people outside of Italy to hire as well. So a lot of different things. And just to give you a quick overview on Bending Spoons, I got louder. Basically we're a tech company and we build mobile applications. We have around, we're not a consulting company. We're not a consulting company, so basically we own all of our own products and we either build them in-house or we acquire them and then optimize them and make them more efficient. We have over 500 million downloads on our applications since last November, so definitely more now, and over 140 million monthly active users. One of our most recent apps is Evernote. If you know it or not, well, we didn't start it from the ground up, but we actually bought it last year, and so we're working on that. So that's kind of the space that I work in, the type of work that I do in a tech company. And so now we're gonna get into the actual stuff. So disclaimer 1, don't believe everything that I am about to tell you. So what I kind of mean by that is this: a lot of what goes on with interviews and how companies interview, how companies look at CVs and cover letters tends to be different based on the company. Especially because we are now in an era where there's more tech startups, there's more of a different work culture, people care about a lot of different things. Companies are becoming more and more personalized about what they look for, what they value, and then how they evaluate candidates. So remember that what I'm gonna tell you is a way that you can approach it, but always remember that you approach it the way that you want to and based off of what you think the company is on the research that you do with them. Number 2, I will ask people to participate. If you don't want to, it's obviously no problem. I don't want to pressure anybody, but it does become a lot more easy to kind of learn a lot of stuff if we're kind of having more of a conversation back and forth. I really hate talking a lot, so I try to involve people, and I think it makes it a little bit more interesting. So let's get started, sort of. You saw like tips and tricks for interviews. That was what this talk was about, but I want to cover first CV and cover letter. The reason being is because CVs and cover letters are very, very important for a first impression. It's the first thing that someone's going to look at. Even if there is a company that, for example, screens using AI, if they're doing an interview with you and you pass through that, that's the first thing that they're going to look at. And regardless of how unbiased your interviewer is, they're going to form an opinion of you before the interview starts. So it's good to make sure that these are quite polished, they're well thought about. And I wanted to ask, what do you think makes a good CV? If anyone wants to answer. Also online, I don't know if you can shout online, but yeah, perfect. Yeah, go ahead. Mm-hmm. Okay, nice. In the back, there was someone, yeah.
And therefore, like knowing in advance what is needed by employee might be like very, very influential for the CV.
Yeah. So my opinion is that at least for technical roles, the most important part is that it should be parsable, in the sense that any kind of standard software that parses PDFs and then extract information should be able to extract all the keywords related to the role. And that implies having not a very stylish CV and possibly as simple as possible in terms of like one column if possible and these kind of things, using standard fonts and these things. Right.
for CVs or resumes, I think it's important to list down your impact and not so much your responsibilities.
Mm-hmm.
So they can see that what you did led to something.
Nice.
The proper formulation of your experience or the things that you are going to mention in the CV, and using the proper words to make the recruiters understand what you really did and how you did.
Nice. Okay, awesome. Yeah, I mean, those are all super valid, good points. I kind of made this general list of what we tend to look for, or what I would say what other companies tend to look for. So in general, for technical roles, people look for hard skills. That's a big thing for a lot of companies. You will notice that some younger companies like ours or like another small startup won't actually require you to have any hard skills when you start. So of course, make sure to read the job description, but sometimes that's not actually required. For business type roles, people generally look a lot more for soft skills, or past experiences to understand what universities you went to, what kinds of classes you took, because they're going to care a lot less if you know how to code in a specific language or anything like that. But the 4 that I kind of wanted to highlight is these 4, right? So we have passion, ambition, impact, and attention to detail. So in general, I think regardless of what the company is looking for in a CV or by their role description, these are the things that you want to highlight regarding the role you're applying to, right? So also consider that when you apply to a company, my number one thing that I always tell everybody is it's a two-way street, right? So you want to work for a company that you want to work at. You don't want to work for a company that you don't want to work at, right? If you're making your CV or your cover letter exactly specifically for that company and completely ignoring your own personality, you might run into issues later on. I can even say we noticed that where some people are super, super perfect throughout the recruitment process, and then they join our company and they don't enjoy what they do. And that's because they presented themselves in a certain way through the recruiting process, and then they start working with us and we don't actually understand their personality or who they truly are because they presented a different version. So really show what you're passionate about, especially for more junior roles. Show what kinds of projects that you worked on that you really liked. Show the courses that you worked on and what was exciting about that. You can show your ambition. So what kinds of things did you do to go above and beyond in class? What kinds of things do you do outside of class to really push yourself and go beyond what you think you can do? And impact. So where do you want to make an impact, right? That's super important because it can depend. Some people want to make an impact by helping people through healthcare. Some people want to make an impact through just touching a lot of users, right? Some people want to make an impact through creating games to make people enjoy their time, their free time, and really be able to explore a different world. So make sure that that's something that you emphasize. And attention to detail. So right, 1 page is really, really nice. On average, a recruiter will look at your CV for about 5 to 7 seconds. So expect that kind of most of the information that you want to show somebody, especially if they're looking at it just as a screening, kind of make sure that information pops out, and so that people really get a good idea of who you are and what you do. Then write a cover letter, always. Write a cover letter, please. I know it's optional a lot of times, but this is the way that we get a better idea of who you really are. A CV, it's kind of hard to express exactly what that is. You can do your best to do it. But if you take even 4 to 5 sentences and say, I'm applying to this job because of X, Y, Z, because I'm this type of person, thank you, I hope we have an interview, perfect, right? But at least say something about yourself and who you are so that we get an idea. Because a lot of times, yeah, go ahead.
Well,
Yeah.
When it comes to writing a cover letter,
Uh-huh.
is it like a separate document in an email, or is it the email itself where you're sending your CV?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. So it depends. If you're applying through a company website, then usually they'll give the option for you to submit it separately. If they don't give you the option, I would honestly find an email on the company website and be like, hey, I'm sending you my cover letter. Go on LinkedIn and find the recruiter and be like, hey, I wrote a cover letter, like I'd like to send it to you. Maybe they won't respond, but I'm telling you, every single time that I did that, where they didn't have the option to upload a cover letter on the website, I got an interview. So it just shows that you actually care and that you really want to go for it. Yeah, go ahead.
Is it like a very important thing for applications to vending spoons? I'm asking because last year I applied to Synapse conference,
Okay.
and I wrote a very nice cover letter.
Mm-hmm.
I was accepted,
Uh-huh.
but then this year I didn't write the cover letter. I was lazy, and I didn't get accepted. So
Well.
I mean, like, maybe that was not the reason.
I mean, that's a great example. I don't think it's not always going to make or break something, but if it is that line of like, okay, we're not sure, that it's like a cover letter can make a huge difference. It's super, in my opinion, it's one of the things that people value the least and is actually something that can really give us an idea of why you would be such a good fit in any company, right? That would be my advice. And then, right, I put passion, ambition, impact, attention to detail. I'm not going to go through them again, but that's your area to really show your personality, right? So what you care about, you can do it in any way that you want, as short as you want. Probably less than a page is best, but always good to do. Now, let's talk about interviews. How do we feel about interviews? Because this is how I feel when I do interviews. When I started doing interviews for other companies. So the goal, basically, is to kind of make you feel more like this, right? So in general, interviews seem like this thing that's super stressful. You're about to talk to somebody. It could be a technical interview too. So like, oh, you have to know all of this information, or you have to like do some live problems or whatever. But I think the key step one of the key things that you can do before an interview is go into it being like, okay, you know what? I might be nervous, but this is a great chance to show them what I'm capable of and show them what I can do. And if you start approaching it with that mindset in your brain is subconsciously already going to be like, oh, okay, this isn't that bad. If you go into it like, oh no, I'm going to fail and it's going to be so bad, your brain is automatically going to be switched in that direction, just due to some things in psychology. So always try to go into it with a positive mindset. And look, worst case, you don't make the job. There is so many other great companies out there. So anyways, interview prep. So what do you think is good to do before you go into an interview? Yeah. No, go ahead.
Yeah, go to the Glassdoor.
Uh-huh.
For example, what kind of questions this company can ask you, and then like answer in advance.
Nice, good. I don't do that, but that's a great idea. Anyone else? Sleep. Honestly, probably a good idea. Yeah.
To make some mock interview with your friend. I mean, to prepare to be prepared to say something.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, that can be especially useful if you think you're going to be nervous, so that's a great idea. Anyone else? Cool. Yeah? Ask who?
Ask the people who are going to interview you what to expect.
Yeah. Okay. That's actually, honestly, yes, a great idea, especially if you have a company that's, I don't know, quite responsive throughout the process. They'll actually probably take the time to kind of like give you some tips. I would also say take a look at the website, try to kind of understand what the company is about, what they do, maybe understand their company culture a little bit and kind of see and understand how you fit that. And that way you kind of come into it, right? Mock interviews are always interesting and a good idea. I mean, even in terms of like a mock interview, you could just start like think about, I mean, going to a bar and like starting up a conversation with a stranger. I think that's honestly probably something that's really hard to do. But if you're able to do that and just get a conversation going and connect with somebody that way, then if you have an interview where you have time to prep, it's going to be the easiest thing in the world. Might be a bad example, but it actually helps me. So amazing. So introduce yourself, right? So what do you think, well, it's already up, but what do you think is kind of, or how would you say, or what would you say is important to say when you're introducing yourself in an interview? So probably the first question that a recruiter is going to do, besides like, oh, this is our company, da 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 da, whatever. Tell me a little bit about yourself. What's your answer? Or what's important to say? You don't have to give me a full pitch. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, maybe you say your name, you like have like a 1 or 2 line summary of your experience that highlights the skills that are relevant for the job.
Cool. Anyone else?
I usually give them information depending on the job, so relative information, and it would be summarized. For example, I would say, I'll talk about my experience. I'll talk about where the passion, for example, for development came from. I'm a software developer, so I would give like a little information where that came from. And yeah, this way you actually get to connect a little bit with that person. And yeah, that's usually.
Cool.
I would add, if it's only 1 minute that I have, or 2 minutes, or 3 minutes, then I would not copy-paste my CV, which they probably saw beforehand already.
Yeah.
And maybe go into, I chose this because, or give a quick wrap-up about my whole life in a more funny way.
Yeah. Nice. That's a good point.
Yeah, I agree with Amir. I would try to give an overview about my personality and some things that wasn't in the CV or the cover letter, because you have a full interview ahead of you, so probably you'll discuss the technical points and the hard skills, soft skills. So I would try to focus this 1 minute more about my personality and about who I am, rather than only the technical and soft skills.
Awesome. Great. Does anyone want to practice an elevator pitch? Actually, you know what we're going to do? We're going to do a quick 2 minutes, and I want you to turn to somebody next to you, and you're going to do a 30 seconds. So each of you, 30-second pitch something about yourself, and then afterwards we're going to talk about it. All right, go. All right, switch. Switch. All right, guys, you have 15 seconds left. All right, finish up. Although it seems like everyone's excited to do this, so maybe not. Yeah, no, I love it. I mean, that's super good. All right, guys. Done. Thank you. Ragazzi. Mamma mia. Perfect. Amazing. Right. So, what is something that the person that you talked to mentioned, or the way that they talked about it, that you want to use for the next time that you present yourself to somebody? If you observed anything. If not, it's okay. It's an opportunity to brag about your friend.
I was telling
cool.
Saba to raise his hand because we were 3 people, so he listened to 2 people. But
Amazing.
with regards to Carlton's introduction, I really like that he took the opportunity to develop for a developer role. He listed down everything that, you know, the technical parts that he's familiar with. So he's showing that he has a technical skill, but also that he also has experience in other stuff. So I think he was able to breeze through that pretty good.
Nice.
Okay. Yeah. So what I have identified is that during the interviews, they were speaking about their experience, but not in details, but just overall experience. And also what Carlton did very well was that he said like the reason why he was shifting to a different career, showing that what is he passionate about, what he likes, and I think that would be a good key point when it comes to recruiting, because he also said like as a story, but I could identify like for example, oh, he's very creative, he has like these skills, that skills. Same was to Red, because not only did he mention like her professional side, but he also mentioned that she also mentioned that she was volunteering. So that also highlights what type of personality she is and what she can bring to the table when she joins the company.
Awesome. Anyone else? Before I keep going. Cool. Yeah. So I mean, it's kind of up to you. I always say you want to. The interviews are a story. To me, it's a story about you and understanding you better and understanding how you work, what your interests are, what you're passionate about, your ambitions, all of that stuff, technical skills for technical interviews. But the one thing that I really recommend when you're first talking and somebody says, tell me a little bit about yourself. As with the CV, this is a first impression, right? So make sure that there is 1 star, one thing in those 30 to 60 seconds that you say that really show who you are and why you're here, why you want to be here. Show yourself with that characteristic. For example, for me, well, what I mention what I would mention, because I switched careers a lot, so not for engineering, I would probably mention that I love telling stories and I love connecting with people. That's I love telling stories, I love connecting with people, and that's what I'm good at, right? That's the thing that I'm able to do. I'm able to understand how people think. I'm able to understand how to communicate differently depending on where they're from or what they do, and really understand exactly how to communicate with them and how I can get across a message differently for different people. That's the part about myself that I like to highlight, because that's what I really care about. And if I say that, and of course the company all of a sudden is like, okay, well, we're not looking for someone like that, then at least I know. But if I couldn't be that core at that company, then I wouldn't want to work there. Which, given, of course, it depends on the situation, but we did that. Amazing. And then these are the other 3 points that I wanted to bring up in general that I think during an interview are super, super important, just to make sure that we're not running out of time and being concise with everything. And the first thing is be yourself, right? So during the whole interview, I really want you to be genuine. Like, don't worry about trying to pretend to be the perfect person. Again, what I said at the beginning holds, that if you try to be someone different, then that company is going to expect you to be that person. And then eventually you might run into issues in that situation. Of course, I mean, the world is a different place. Sometimes you just really need a job, and if you really need a job and that's what you have to do to get the job, that's what you do, right? But in general, if you're really trying to find something that you can be passionate in or that you can enjoy working in, that's what I would focus on. Be honest. Don't try to 100% sugarcoat everything. That doesn't mean you need to go into an interview and be like, I'm super unorganized, I don't know what I'm doing, right? Probably not the best approach, but take a play on that and find ways to spin those things that maybe might not be viewed as positive to more positive points. So, for example, I might not be the most organized person, but because of that and because my role requires me to be, I've learned tons of ways to keep myself structured, to make sure that I'm on top of my things. I keep 3 different calendars and 1 notebook to make sure that I'm always remembering every single task that I need to do, right? Or maybe you're a person who has a difficulty saying no to things, which of course is something that in the real world is important to have as a skill. But you can always say that, yes, that might be something that you need to work on, but because of that, you're a go-getter and you're always open to new opportunities. And then be clear with everything that you're trying to say. A lot of times, and I know this is difficult in the moment, even I do this, is we do something called fluff. So we kind of talk around the point that we're trying to get to for a really, really, really long time until we actually get to the point that we want. This is, in my opinion, less important than the first 2, but still, the more clear that you can be with, okay, I did this, so after I did this, and this was the result, and this is why that was the result. If you're able to kind of explain that whole situation relatively clearly and quickly without going in a lot of circles, it really helps a person understand exactly who you are and what happened in that situation, or how you're going about answering those questions a little bit better. So let's practice more if you want. If you guys are all out of talking, then that's fine, but I've been talking a lot, so I think you can manage. I want you to turn to the person next to you or whoever you partnered up with last time, and think of a question to ask them. Try to make it a difficult one. And then see what their answer is and see how they answered it. Try to think of those 3 things that I mentioned earlier. So be yourself, be honest, and be clear, and kind of practice that structure a little bit. You have about 2 minutes. I can't see the clock, so I was All right, guys, I heard you have class. So we're gonna cut this now so that I can finish. If they answer. In like 2 minutes, so I have to finish. Well, yeah, 2 minutes as in I have to finish up and then, sorry. But you can practice in your own time, you know. Now you have a fun game you can do while you're at the bar and be like, oh, I need to practice my interviews. Can I ask you some questions? Ragazzi. Thank you. All right. So the last thing that I wanted to mention is there really is no exact way to do interviews. So kind of, I mean, we could have reflected on all of this, but we don't have time. The biggest thing that I like to mention, I mentioned this at the beginning, is find what works for you. What gets you in your flow? What allows you to tell your story and really show off who you are to the people that are interviewing you? That's the most important thing. And if you can really show off who you are, what you do, what you're passionate about, what you care about, and apply that to the role that you're doing, then you're golden. You got it. All right. Thanks. We don't have time for questions, but enjoy your class. And there's free stuff if you want to run and grab it. For me. No, for me. Yes. Carrie, I don't have a credit card right now because my wallet got stolen. Yeah. Yeah, that you can't do in Milan either. Until Friday. It's not a professional question. That's another question. I'm actually I don't drink caffeine. I only eat vegetables. Yeah, I only eat vegetables. Is this streaming still going? Can you turn it on?
So how about we officially close, and then you can all bombard him with recommendations or questions afterwards individually. Lukas, thank you so much for coming. For everyone online, happy that you joined us today. We'll have more Space Talks in the future. Follow us on Instagram, LinkedIn, and YouTube to stay updated with future events. Thank you. Bye.